Creativity is one of those things which I think a lot of people see as this elusive, mystical thing which some people have and some people don't. A lot of people break it into probably two things, you know, people who just have this outpouring of creativity and it just kind of pours out of them and they're envious of people like that. And then there's the other people that look and think it's that you have to suffer and struggle to get creativity out. It's a habit, you have to show up for it and turn up. It's like a job almost. You get as many ideas going and some of those ideas will work, some of those ideas, you know, they just don't go anywhere, but some of the time those ideas that you didn't think were working come back at a later date and they play a major role in something else you're working on. A lot of the time I don't know what I'm doing when I'm sitting there, and that's the best place to be. I think that's where the unexpected happens. My background is mostly piano and singing, and I used to sing a lot of covers like Billy Joel, Elton John. I love that type of singer-songwriter music, and I played in many bands playing covers, you know, over the years. I love 80s retro music. Thanks to my sister, actually. She had a record collection when I was like about 8 years old. I always remember she would go out to work, I would go into her room and I would like shift through her record collection, and she had like everything, you know, Tears for Fears, Depeche Mode, New Order, and that's how I kind of fell in love with 80s music. Prior to writing any of the songs for California, I felt like I was a failed musician. I felt like I was this guy who was playing in piano bars, singing other people's songs, and I had started to think that I would never ever get to sing my own songs, and I wasn't good enough to do that. I went through a horrible breakup and I had to move back into my father's house. While there, you know, going through all the kind of heartache, I started writing again. I had no expectations. Maybe that was why everything sort of came together. The first track that I wrote was Rabbit in the Headlights. Around about that time, I had discovered this scene called synthwave. It's not just music, it's in art and movies and things like that. It's this whole scene which is a celebration of 1980s culture, bright neon colours, you know, pinks and purples and blues, but they're kind of electrified, you know, a lot of the art that you see, the kind of images. There's something really warm and fuzzy about it and nostalgic. First artists that I heard from that were people like Betamaxx, The Midnight, FM84, and I discovered all these other things like the movie Drive, which is a huge influence on the synthwave scene. I was just completely overwhelmed with like this whole like aesthetic of taking 1980s music that's, you know, really retro sounding, but it was repackaged in a modern, fresh way with modern production. When I was, you know, at high school, I couldn't make the kind of music that I was listening to because I was 10 years too late. At that time, there wasn't really a sort of retro anything at that point. So I discovered that music, and I decided that I was going to write, you know, an album, or at very least some songs in the kind of style of music that I wanted, that was what I grew up listening to. When I finished Rabbit in the Headlights, I sent the song off to NewRetroWave, and you know, a few weeks went by, and then I got an email back saying they loved the song and they wanted to put it up on their station. So I was absolutely overjoyed and completely over the moon, you know, I was very happy. I was a fan of a band called the New Division, and I became friends with the man behind that, John Kunkel. He introduced me to one of his friends, James Meays, who is the man behind Missing Words. And he said, you know, why don't you come over here? And I'd always wanted to come here, so I kind of decided to come over here and finish the rest of my EP over here in California. While I was recording my EP, California, I used Propeller Reason. I love Reason. I've used it since 2.5. The first time I got Reason was, I think it was around about 2004, and I sold my entire hardware setup. creatively speaking, whenever I sit down and I want to start writing, the first thing I'm looking for is to try and evoke a certain mood or a certain feeling. So I'll sit down and usually go through my folder of patches of sounds basically that I have collected that are my favourite patches, sounds that I've maybe found that are presets, or maybe sounds that I've created, and just find something which resonates with me, maybe a 32 bar loop, and then from that I'll start to form the crux of what I'm looking for. I think it's important when you're writing to get a general feeling of what you're trying to do, and then make a skeleton of that, and then work backwards. Maybe you don't know initially where you want to go with the idea, but you should always keep your eye on where the idea is going as you're doing it, to try and end up giving it structure. I think initially I thought I was going to go to Los Angeles and record this album and make a music video, and then I would go home and that would be it, and that was the be all and end all of it. I would go back to my normal life. But in actual fact, really what I was doing was I was going over there and meeting a lot of really great people that became now really great friends of mine, and I met my now wife over there, and just all these wonderful things happened because I was open to it. I'm a big believer in saying yes to doing things. Maybe you don't get the thing that you initially thought you were going to get, but it does lead you in a direction which kind of takes you closer, if that makes sense.